I want to talk about old JRPGs. And I mean old JRPGs from the 80s and 90s. If you're like me, you might be hesitant to go back and try the classics from the NES era, or maybe even the SNES era, if you didn't grow up playing them. For me, it's because over the years I've heard how brutally hard some of these old RPGs can be, such as Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior on the NES, and all those concerns turn me off from playing them. You might have heard some of the warnings. There's no guidance on where to go. It's easy to build a bad party. Bosses are unfair and can only be overcome by grinding. You need lots of luck just to get through a dungeon without any party members dying, and afterward you still have to go fight the dungeon boss. Not to mention slow or confusing gameplay, dated graphics, and bad translations. All of these are true for many NES RPGs, but there's also the 90s era JRPGs where a different set of complaints crops up. Mostly that they're too long, or in some cases, the main stories don't have enough side content, while their post-game content requires too much time investment. The great thing is that recent re-releases for modern consoles, like the Switch and PS4, address a lot of these hurdles that prevent people from getting into older games. Of course, you can play any of them on an emulator to get quality of life features like speed up and save states, but not everyone wants to or likes using emulators, and often, re-releases of these classics make additional changes that improve the experience and reduce frustration without removing any of the charm or appeal of the originals. There's never been a better time to get into old JRPGs, and I'm glad I'm trying many of the classics for the first time. Let's look at the Switch for example. Square Enix must have realized how appealing it is to be able to play their classics on the go, because they brought a ton of older RPGs to that system, as well as the PS4. They also understand that many people, especially older players like me, don't have as much time as they used to for grinding and figuring things out, so they added built-in speed up and save state options to games like Final Fantasy VII, VIII, IX, and XII. It's like playing on an emulator, except I get to sit on my couch or play on the go. And the music doesn't speed up when you fast forward, which is an improvement over emulators, at least the ones I've used. I'm also happy to support publishers who listen to their fans by adding features like this. They cut down on the time required to play these games, but don't diminish your enjoyment at all. In fact, they improved my enjoyment of games like Final Fantasy IX, where I opted to do some side quests and content that I wouldn't have normally tried because it would have taken too long. For the super old games like those from the NES era, instead of straight ports or remasters, we've gotten a lot of remakes. Now, I tend to want to play games in their original form. I want to experience them like how players experienced them when they came out. But I'm learning to be a little more flexible about that. Due to all the aforementioned concerns with playing NES RPGs, I probably wouldn't have played them at all if it weren't for modern remakes. These often include quality of life features not found in the original games, such as rebalanced stats, lowered encounter rates, or visual upgrades. Take Dragon Quest for example. Square released what are essentially ports of the mobile versions of Dragon Quests 1 through 3 for Switch and PS4. However, these versions are actually great. They're priced reasonably, and they look and feel just modern enough for the controls to not get in your way, unlike the super clunky command system of the originals. They've got great music, less grinding, and updated visuals, which do get some criticism, but I think they look charming, and having never played the originals, I don't know the difference. None of these things take away from my experience. I feel comfortable saying I've played Dragon Quest, even though I technically have never played the original, back when it was called Dragon Warrior. We're also getting first-time Western releases for some highly praised games previously only available in Japan, like Seiken Densetsu 3, now known as Trials of Mana, and the Romance and SaGa games. I've had a blast discovering gems like these, all at a reasonable price and finally with proper translations. It's a good time to be a JRPG fan, and I hope this wave of releases gets more people to give these old classics a try.